What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Gamer Credits. This is going to be level 12. Let's introduce the players. Player 1, BP.
Yo, kid, ready to go, man. How about you?
Aw, man. I think about the same, honestly. I think about the same.
Good. Let's do it.
All right. Then we got player 2, Star Child. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't appreciate that level of energy coming from BP. You know, not all of us was able to catch up on some naps today. So, but how's everybody doing?
Everybody is in the audience. I think they're doing pretty good, you know. I think
Yeah,
so.
I'm hearing them. I'm hearing them kind of like cheer out now. So it's all as well. All as well.
Oh, BP's hearing voices now. Nice.
Yeah, man. Always, man. Always.
Oh. Anyway, then of course you got player 3. It's your boy Kid Dream. So
No.
before we get to these great topics, does anybody have a gaming moment of the week?
Man,
I made MVP in Overwatch. You know, first time in how many years been playing that game?
Oh God.
First time ever. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What was it like?
Felt good,
84% or something like that. On fire, match on fire.
I don't even remember the stat. I just remember the MVP part.
Nice.
Did you
Just
take a picture of
MVP
it?
stuck on it.
Oh nah, man.
You should take a picture.
Nah, I just wanted to feel how BP feels every night, and I know how it feels now. So it was amazing.
Fun fact:
Okay.
BP has never gotten 84% match on fire. So just throwing that out there.
Not yet. That's the thing, though.
I like that. Not yet.
This
Not yet.
guy.
It's
This
coming.
guy.
Just like last episode, it's coming. We'll see.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. Except this time, we saw with Outriders, which leads to my gaming moment of how frustrated I am.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Basically, a repeat of what happened last time, essentially. But this
Wait.
time, I didn't get any loot.
I was
You
gonna
know, I
say, didn't the
finished
game
it.
crashed?
It did, but in this
Oh.
case, I finished the expedition, tier 15 to be accurate here, and yeah, the game kicked me out or crashed, no loot. So spent all that time, all those minutes, essentially for nothing. And
Or nothing.
for
Fool
nothing.
me
And I
once,
will let Kid
shame on
actually.
I said, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. You know, that's.
Yeah, that's on
Oh,
me.
no, I
own
did
it.
reverse. Is that
Yeah, you
fool me
did.
once,
You did. It's
shame on
okay.
me?
I think the audience knew what you were getting at. Hopefully.
Yeah, man. So I think that you might want to retire that game for a little bit till they get those patches put out there.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'll let Kid share his gaming moment because I'm sure it's about that, right? Or do you have something else that I don't know about?
You know, it was going to be, but I figured you were gonna make yours about it, Outriders. So I figured let's not, beat a horse while it's down.
Well, let's do that actually. Nah, I'm joking. Go ahead.
I see. And my second backup, or my backup, was going to be Resident Evil Village because I play a little bit of it so far. I am enjoying it, but I think what I'll give my game moment of the week is actually going to be Hood Outlaws and Legends or something like that. I think is what it's called. New game that just came out earlier this week. I think on Monday or whatever. So far it's pretty good. Thankfully, a coworker actually bought it for me as a gift. So I've
Nice.
been playing with him and his people, and it's been we just were playing a few minutes ago, and it was pretty fun. It's definitely the last little bit definitely gets tense and stressful because it is like PvP, and so it's could be a wild ride. But I think that's what I have to give it to.
Nice. A little disappointing you didn't give it to Village, but it's okay. It's okay.
I want to play some more of it because I am enjoying it. It is so far a good game, and I do like the tall vampire lady. She's definitely a good part about the game.
Yeah, this is not that type of show.
I'm about to
man.
say, excellent job. Good on that clean version there, sir. Excellent.
Oh, speaking of the show, let's talk about the topics today, right? So it's been a little over a month or almost a month since Mortal Kombat the movie has come out. And so basically the first topic we wanted to kind of touch on is how do we feel about more video games getting turned into movies, because obviously we just had Mortal Kombat, Before that, we had the Monster Hunter movie. We are getting,
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, that
yeah,
was.
we're getting Uncharted pretty soon. Um, oh God, what else are we getting? I'm drawing a blank.
I
Help
mean,
me out
those are
here.
the main ones, really. Oh, well, that's going to be a series, The Last of Us, so that's technically
Oh,
not a. Isn't that
uh,
supposed to be a
Re-
series?
yeah,
Yeah.
that. I think they're making a Resident Evil movie.
Oh, that too. That's right. It's a Netflix joint,
Another
isn't it?
one. Yeah, with
Okay.
Netflix. Um, oh, we just found out that Ubisoft is making the Division movie.
Oh,
Mm,
right. I forgot
Movie.
about that.
okay.
Um, so we're seeing, and there's a lot more. We're drawing blanks right now, but essentially, I guess the first topic or first point to kind of bring up is how do you guys feel about that? Like, do you guys want more video game movies, or do you not want these at all?
I think I'll let Star handle that one first.
I- my whole argument is not to critique the Mortal Kombat movie, but I do want to say two things about it because it's relevant right now. It's the only like it's the actual video game movie out at the moment. So, if you're gonna do a video game and try to apply real world mechanics and try to make it seem real to the audience, make it where it's not supposed to be believable, but make it where it's actually doing fan service to the people who actually support the game. They screwed up on this movie because they tried to make it two things: fan service and then try to appeal to an audience that has never played the games before. And so by doing so, they kind of lost both audiences. And I felt like the movie could have been greater, but it wasn't the worst movie. So I would say if you're gonna make a video game into a movie, do it based on the fans. Don't try to attract or appeal to another audience because that's how these games or these movies fell. And that's my take. I don't want to dig too hard on Mortal Kombat. I know some people liked it. I just want to say that stick to the audience that made the game popular, and then hopefully if you have a good writer, a director, you will make a great movie.
So,
Okay.
so does that mean you do want more video game movies, or
I,
you
I would
don't?
love more video
Okay,
game movies, but they have to make it based on the fans.
okay, and hold on to that because that's the second part.
Mm-hmm.
BP, what you think?
So, it's really interesting because, a lot of what Star said, I generally was with a great deal. In fact, I kind of took it pretty serious, especially that if you're going to go that route to make a movie from the video game, you really do have to cherish those elements of it that made people love it in the first place. And those people, I mean fans, of those video games. Um, I, it's really tough, man. I feel like, just to kind of go off his Mortal Kombat example, I did take some issues with the movie itself. I don't really want to get into spoilers, but let's just say they very much did some things with it that didn't align with the environment or the actual, I guess, story of the game, meaning they didn't really, like, for example, it really doesn't focus on the tournament aspect, which
Mhm.
that's what we know Mortal Kombat to be. So
Yeah.
that was kind of a deterrent for me. I mean, I will say the fighting was decent, but I only say that because I've seen plenty of fighting movies out there or martial art movies out there that were like just bleeps and bounds, like great. And it was just hard to kind of look at Mortal Kombat and say, oh, that was much better because, I kind of seen it before or it was like, it was okay. But I will give it that credit that it did do well with the fighting, at least I thought, and some of the effects. But I think overall, if you can just really put out something with a good story to it, have some decent acting, have some really cool moments that can be a good throwback to the game and the elements in it, then yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I would definitely love for them to keep doing it. They keep having movies. I'm sorry, movies based on video games. It's great. I would say that for those that they do clearly as a cash grab, maybe not so much.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Because
Like
that
Mario Brothers.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that was I don't know what that was, man. I mean, I guess you call it a crash
That was
grab.
cash grab.
Was that solely cash grab, or because I don't even know if they knew what was going on with it at the time.
They probably didn't. They didn't know.
It's just and I think that was a good example of like how you have the argument of the production companies or the producers, how they shouldn't really have too much of their hands into that project. I mean, obviously, if you want it to come to fruition and you want to provide funding and all that, great. But kind of let the directors, well, at least good directors do their thing, and not to really come in and say, oh, no, it should be this, should be that, because I think that's a prime example of when what happens when you do that. But yeah, I think again, if the passion's there, if the inspiration is there, then sure, absolutely bring them on. But again, you can always tell the ones that are just cash grabs and the ones that just they don't really care. They don't care about the the story or anything. So
No.
Well,
Not at all.
I'll be the only positive one here because I actually like Mortal Kombat. Thought it was
I
a
know.
great movie.
it is good points. It did. It really did. I mean, it just I don't know. It's just certain parts about it. Like I look at the old Mortal Kombat, like the very first movie, and as cheesy as that movie was, it was really cheesy, but it really stuck with the element of the game, which was mainly the tournament and having the characters be in their in the right role and all that stuff, and in the right roles, I should say. So that's why I kind of would look at that and be like, I was appreciative more of that than I was of the newer movie with as far as the story goes. I guess is the best way to say it.
Got
All right.
you.
Austin's. Oh me, I'm sorry, kid.
Nice.
So, what was
Nice.
it about? I'm trying to move forward, man. Hey, what was your take on what made the movie great for you?
It was just enjoyable. I feel like, and granted, I guess maybe that's what kind of separates us is I've dabbled in the Mortal Kombat games. I've never like really been deep into the lore and history and know all the characters and everything.
Mm.
But it was just fun. I mean, every 10 minutes it feels like there was another fight going on.
Mm-hmm.
The gore was there, the violence was there. Kano was just every 10 minutes spitting out a one-liner that was just hilarious.
I'm surprised he hasn't got canceled yet, but that might happen.
But I don't know. I just to me
But that brings back to the point I was making.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
I'm sorry.
What was that? I was about to say, what was the point?
What's the point?
Nah, because so Austin made a point where he was not big into the actual video game itself and the story. So this movie was kind of created for his audience, people who weren't really into the actual story of the video game. And that's why the movie to me flopped because it did not do anything for the fans, the ones that actually made the game so popular that it can even have a movie in the first place. Because there was a lot of elements in that movie that when you look at it, you don't feel like you're watching Mortal Kombat until the fan service parts kick in. And the fan service parts weren't enough for me to feel grounded in the lore of Mortal Kombat, the story.
And it's interesting that you're saying that because, and I'm really, really trying to remember where I heard this from, but it was basically somebody that came forward and said, the way they can attribute your liking of the movie goes like this. If you care about the lore more than you do the gore, then it's not going to be for you. But if you're cool with the gore over the lore, meaning that you didn't really care much about the story, you were just in it for like the fatalities and the gruesomeness, then you would absolutely love it.
Yeah,
And I thought that was
story.
I thought that was a good point, though. I thought it was a good point to say, yeah, I mean, because most of the people I came across that loved it, were basically saying that, like when I asked them, what'd you like about it? Oh, the fight scenes were really cool. It was really gory. It was really, some really, really brutal, like finishing, moves that were done. Yeah, fatalities. There you go. Finishing, you got it. But yeah, so they were kind of remarking on those things. And then the people who didn't like it were kind of like, we were having deeper discussions about it where I had issues and they clearly had issues, and we really can kind of we'll kind of rap on that and say, oh yeah, yeah, they really did this wrong, or they did this character really dirty, and you know what I mean. So I think that really had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. But I'm sorry to cut you off, kid. I
Yeah, you cut him
apologize.
all the way off, and I just jumped in too. Like we just took over kid. Like he's we don't care. It's fine.
I'm used to it with y'all.
Yikes. Yikes.
But to answer the original question, I am very much open to the idea of more video game movies. I think the more video games kind of expand and grow out and become movies and TV shows and books and spin-offs, I'm all for it. If it grows that universe, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sign me up for it.
Hey, some of those books, man, be amazing.
I've heard, but
Yeah, like I mean,
Star Wars didn't start off as a video game. It was basically an actual movie, but there's so much with the lore that you can build so much more story from that. I think Mortal Kombat has that same type of foundation. Like there's so much background stories that they can build so much more that to me they didn't have to do a remake. They could have just took from the actual story and just made it into a movie. Like don't just act like Mortal Kombat the original never happened. No, it happened. Just keep going with the story. But they didn't do that. They tried to do a remake and bring back the same characters that we already know. But we want to see what more the story can offer because I'm burnt out right now with the remakes. I just Hollywood gotten so lazy, and I'm sorry, I don't want to go on a rant, but Hollywood has gotten so lazy with two things: nothing but superheroes or remakes or slave movies. I'm sorry, but that's about it. Like I'm just done. There's too much material out there, and they just say, nah, we want to stick with what we think makes money instead of just stick with the art and like make something that can last a lifetime, so other generations can learn and make things because of how great this story was.
Yeah, I mean, well, go ahead, kid. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, all right.
No, I thought you were going. I mean, I hear you. I just want to go back to what you said about just continue on from the original Mortal Kombat. I can kind of see where that would be a little bit of a challenge because let's be honest, that movie didn't age well. Especially
it did. Now part 2 did not, but part 1 did.
I mean, listen, me and you, obviously we can look at it and have a special place in our hearts for it. I mean, it's like looking at Street Fighter, and as bad as that movie was, it was so bad it was good. So you can kind of be like, yeah, there's still that charm. But, looking at either people who really didn't keep up with that, like in the newer generation, yeah, I don't know if, that'd be kind of a big ask to say, oh, we're continuing a movie that came out like in the 90s. So go back and check that out if you want the full story. And it's like, I don't know if they would really kind of want to do that. But just my thoughts. I mean, I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm done. That was it.
So real quick before you move on, do you guys think if they do adapt video games into a movie, should they stick to the, script of the video game itself and kind of just do it as a retelling in the big screen, or should it be more of his own original story? And then real quick, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually.
You know who did a great job at it? And I'm not sure how many people played it, but Injustice 2, they took what was stories based on the comic books, but they expanded on those stories before the game and added other characters that weren't even in the comic book for that story to grow this story. I mean, Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, the stories that they told were better than movies that were made based on those characters. So I like to say that if you allow a director to have full control over their movies, I think we can see how more creative movies can be. But when studios want to have, the executives, look at how we can market things and all the business stuff that has to happen in the background, I think that's how these movies go bad, like Transformers and other things. Like it's just too many hands in the pot, and the director loses vision because he doesn't have full control.
Well, you like the first Transformers you said was bad?
I liked how the robots looked.
But that's all you would give it though.
It's too many humans, man. I'm
Ah,
sorry, man. I grew up
gotcha.
with a Transformer cartoon. They only had like three humans in the whole cartoon. Now this movie's nothing but humans, and then 5 seconds of Transformers fighting for some reason. Like, okay,
Uh, that's a common thing
yeah,
I've heard from people, but I won't go into that because that's a whole
yeah, that's
other
a whole
thing.
nother topic.
Yeah. Lord
but
have
but I
mercy.
can understand that. So what I think, because I think for me, I'll just answer just like straight out the bat. I never was one to want a movie based off a video game where they took that same story, the exact same story, and then brought it to big screen. And the reason being is because if I've experienced that game and the story elements, I, that's what I know. So to see it kind of replicated on the screen again is kind of like, well, I mean, I played a game, I seen the story unfold that way, and it was, and let's be honest, much more detailed because you only have a set amount of time in a movie scope, in the
Mm.
scope of a movie time, running time, I should say. So my whole thought was, yeah, I wouldn't actually mind just give you a perfect example, Resident Evil, which I know I'm going to get probably a lot of flack from that because there was a lot of people who took issue with it because it basically skirted away from the source material, to speak, from the first game. And people just didn't like that, and in my mind I'm thinking, yeah, but if you're a fan of that story, chances are it. Would you really want them to retell that same story exactly as it happened in the game that you've already experienced? I mean, to me, it just would feel like a waste of time. Now, that doesn't mean that you take that property and just do whatever and just butcher it all, which I think people felt like Resident Evil did. But I honestly respected it because it took that chance to tell its own story. It kept the elements of Resident Evil, like it had like the lickers from, the monsters from RE2, which I
Yeah,
thought
you
was
had the
pretty cool. I
umbrella
mean, mind you, the
symbol.
effects, you look back and you're like, ooh, yikes, okay, I understand. But still, it was just a cool thing that they included that, and the umbrella logo, like you said, that was cool, and it told its own story, and I appreciated that. I thought it was cool. And even later with the sequels, they had characters from the games that popped up. Mind you, they weren't as they were in the game per se, except for like how they look. But I just thought it was a cool thing, a cool concept to really just go with that, versus just rehashing a story that I'm already familiar with from playing the game.
I
So
got a question.
yeah,
I was gonna ask Kit first, and I ask you next, BP.
yeah. Well, I
Out of
wanted to
all the
get kids'
actual,
reaction first, but you can go ahead.
oh, that's true. Let me just throw this question out there now. Let Kit finish off because I'm gonna forget it if I don't. So,
Lord have mercy.
what video game movie was your favorite? Because there has to be at least one that we all can say, "Hey, that they did this one good." So don't have to answer it yet, but just keep that question out there.
Okay.
Oh God.
No, right. Have to do some research. Kid, you're up.
I rather it kind of deviate from the source material a little bit, kind of like you said, BP. I don't necessarily just want a retelling of the exact same story I just played 2 hours ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't mind it to kind of be his own thing as long as it kind of fits in that universe. And it might even be pretty cool if, let's say, you got game part one that came out, and then let's say you had the movie come out, and maybe it fills in like the part in between game one and game two, and it kind of pulls that story together. So it's its
Yeah.
own unique story, but it still fits within the video game universe and even connects.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be
Mm-hmm.
that could be an interesting way to kind of connect the two universes. There are the two different the video game and the movie property together. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, essentially just kind of be its own unique thing, just because that way, there's more stories to tell instead of just telling the same one we just played.
Right.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And it's cool because it just expands on it, right? Like with the Uncharted one, I believe that's supposed to be like a prequel of sorts, right? To Nathan
Yeah.
Drake in his earlier
Story.
days.
He's
Yeah.
completely too young to be,
I
the
mean,
character from the,
we
from the
could,
game.
yeah, we can touch on that, and that's a fair thing to discuss. But just the idea that they're going that route to say, hey, let's do that and tell that story, as opposed to telling like the first Uncharted story. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, it hasn't been that long enough to where we forgot the story, guys. I mean, come on now.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's really good, kid. Actually.
All
Uh,
right. So,
the question still
favorite
stands.
movie. What
Whew.
would be your favorite movie, kid?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know.
I know that's a
Serious?
tough one. That's a tough one, man. I mean,
I can't think
I,
of anything
I
right now.
I know that when that's isn't that terrible? Like we're over here advocating for more of these, and we can't even remember what our favorite one was. Um, gosh,
Well, I'm gonna throw
yeah,
mine out
you go
there so
ahead, yeah,
you can
because maybe
just
that'll give me an
laugh at
idea.
me. But Tomb Raider did it correct. The first Tomb Raider, I think, was on point with how you can take a video game and transfer it into the silver screen.
You know what? Yes, that's actually a good one though, because I actually felt the same way, and I remember thinking to myself, and I know people probably wouldn't believe this, but I remember when Tomb Raider had come out, and I think they were already like having discussions, like little small discussions about possibly it being coming a film. And I do remember in my mind thinking, man, it'd be great, Angelina Jolie. That would be
Oh,
amazing,
you actually thought
Laura.
her first. Okay.
Yeah, like I really did, and that was one of my cool things about me. Like, coming up, I just always had this kind of. I'm not sure why I never went the route of being a casting agent, but anyway. But I
Nice.
just always know. But I saw that, I was like, oh, that would be so perfect. And when they did it, it just blew my mind. And maybe that form of bias makes me kind of overlook some of the flaws in the movie, sure. But I still thought it was really good, and for what it was, and that she did a really good job. Just bringing that character to life. So that's, I don't know. I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one, Star.
Okay,
I really
cool.
might have to, yeah, because I can't think of nothing else. I mean, I would have said Mortal Kombat, but like I said, that
Mm,
that kind of didn't
uh,
age really well. So
Nothing yet, kid.
Uh, nah, I can't.
let's give
Uh,
them some choices. You got Mario Brothers you threw out there already. I don't know if you saw that one.
Do you
nah.
see
Still young on
Doom?
that. Oh, Doom's another
Yes, I
one.
think Doom was trash.
Okay, all right.
Oh, that
Well,
hurts. That hurts. You didn't even
no,
like this.
I agree with the kid on that.
Oh, I
That
figured you would. Everybody says that. They're like, I only got a handful of friends that actually, are with me on that. But you can't. I mean, even the scene with the first person, like camera view, that doesn't do anything for you, kid.
mm, no.
I mean, it was cool, but the movie itself was just trash. It's just a trash movie.
I got you. I loved it, but I understand. I do get that. Um,
I guess the Resident Evil movies, I did enjoy those. Thought it was pretty creepy when I was a kid.
okay. Yeah, that would have been my other choice, honestly, but I just knew there was something else out there. I was like, nah, I think I like that a little bit more.
Probably is, but hopefully we'll get more pretty soon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I'm
we'll
curious
see.
about the Netflix one. Well, that's a movie, right? I mean, they're gonna do the release of
I
that
think
on there.
I don't know if it's Netflix or both, but I
Okay.
think they're doing it I think somebody's doing a TV show and I think somebody's doing a movie
All right. Right. Yeah, that's true.
and doing everything.
Okay, I know, right?
Everything.
So,
But moving on to the legal battle between good old Apple and Epic. And we're not really going to talk much about uh, all of that, what's going on. I'm interested to see how it turns out when it's all said and done. Um, what we want to touch on real quick is the documents that came out that weren't supposed to come out. And Sony is probably not very happy they came out. But basically, documents came out that basically Sony hates crossplay so much that publishers actually have to pay Sony to have them enable crossplay on their games, and I think they're the only one to do that.
yeah, no,
That's
you're correct.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So I mean, should uh, console manufacturers should they demand money for crossplay? What y'all think?
that's gonna be a hard no for me, but I'll let I'll let Star lead the charge on that one.
So here's my thing. What was Sony's argument as to why they had to charge for giving games or giving their actual players access to other players on different platforms?
The
They
kids.
felt
So,
like they were losing money.
Well,
but,
the
but,
kids is the original argument they came up with.
Hmm.
They basically
I,
their whole point was that if it's crossplay, then they can't moderate other people's servers, and that the kids would be in danger.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah, I remember that.
that
I
was
do
the
remember
official
that.
lame excuse they put out that nobody
Yeah,
believed in the
like
world. But
years
But
and
you
years
know where they
ago.
got that from though? They got that because of Nintendo. I mean, they basically was trying to use a Nintendo line that just did not work for them.
And
yeah,
then
so
Nintendo allowed crossplay before them.
sounds about right. Well, like I said before, guys, Sony and their ego, they honestly feel like everybody really should, and I know I'm probably putting this like, way overboard, but maybe not. But just they feel that people should worship them, man. Like should go to them for everything. They should be heading to them for the exclusives and just chomping at the bit to get the latest products that they put out. I mean, that's just their mindset. So, go ahead, I'm sorry, kid.
And I'll say this. I think it also has to do kind of like what you were saying with their ego and the fact that, for the last generation, the PS4, Xbox One, I think it's pretty clear PlayStation dominated that generation. They were the top dog. And so they were in a position where they didn't have to do stuff like this because they were already winning. So I think if the roles were reversed, I think if Microsoft was on top last generation, I think we would probably have a similar conversation about how Microsoft didn't want to allow crossplay, but because they were kind of down right now, they needed to do as much as they could to say, hey, look, we're here for you guys. And I think that's Sony's biggest thing is like we don't have to. Like why would we? Kind of like what Star was saying. What are we getting from this? Nothing.
Right. And that's what it came down to. Yeah, well, that's what it came down to is what they were getting, and they just felt like the crossplay would pretty much not guarantee that they would have the certain, I guess, player base that they were anticipating for said release of a game. And so that's what they, and then you can probably Google this. I don't even remember what the figures were or the formula they worked. There was some weird formula they worked out that was based on sales that they hit the third party developers with, saying if your game performs this kind of way, then you owe us this certain cut, that revenue or something like that. It was really just strange. I mean, I'm sure it was a pretty simple formula, but I looked at it, I was like, I had to keep myself from throwing up, but I was just like, this is just sad. Like, it is really sad, man.
And I don't want to cry, woe is me for the publishers, because, most of these publishers have so much money. It's insane to think about. But
yeah, definitely.
God, could you imagine being a publisher and putting your game on Sony's platform, and they're like, all right, cool, so we'll take a cut for the game you just sold. Oh, you sell microtransactions? We're going to take a cut of that. Oh, you want crossplay? Yeah, we'll take a cut of that as well. Like, God dang, man.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, and then
the music industry been doing it years for the artists. So I mean, Sony is in the music industries.
They kind of took liberties from that, right? Yeah. Probably got that.
You're right about that one.
Probably where they got that formula from.
I mean, they probably just called the downstairs, be like, "Hey, how do you stole that money from TLC? Yeah, we need to use that." Okay, cool.
Jeez, man, it's so crazy, man. It just makes me sick.
And I hate to say it, but this might be one of the reasons why most we don't have more crossplay games out there, because people don't want to pay.
Yeah, especially for development, because not every developer is AAA, so they do have to consider these things budget wise. So.
Yeah.
Now I was gonna say, mind you, now crossplay was never on anyone, like for the three companies, let's say Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. That wasn't on their that wasn't their language. That wasn't their talking points. It was only because of the consumers. That we were like, with the technology we have today, how come I have to buy this game on 4 or 3 different platforms just so I can play with my friends?
Right.
And because enough of us made this argument online, that's when the developers are like, we can do that. But it's going to be up to Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony to play fair and play nice.
Yeah.
And so Microsoft and Nintendo was like, we can play nice. Nintendo's. I mean, Nintendo's not even in, and Nintendo gets nothing out of this. Nintendo's always been its own little ecosystem, so it's not. It already said they no longer compete with the other two.
Hmm.
So all they wanted to do was make their actual customers happy. Microsoft, I think their agenda was, oh, we are almost in last place. We need to do something to give us some type of visibility again. So they're using this in a way to make them look good.
Hmm.
Sony, on the other hand, knows that Microsoft is doing this to make themselves look good, and they know that Nintendo technically doesn't have to do this. So they don't really have any other reason to do it at all. They don't want to help Microsoft out. No. So they don't have no reason. I mean,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to stop paying for my PlayStation Plus. I mean, so they don't have any actual reason to be forced into doing this right now, unless a lawsuit kicks in and makes them do it.
Yeah. So I'm glad it's kind of like you were saying, Star, that it's crazy. We're just now getting into this, and I'm happy we are getting into it
Hmm.
finally. Um, it's just crazy how long it took, but I'm glad we're starting to get more games into it, and hopefully, now that this document has come out, Sony kind of backpedals that a little bit,
Hmm.
Hmm.
allow more publishers to kind of maybe want to hop in on this because it is a good thing because yeah, man, it's not fun buying it on Xbox, but hey, I want to play with my friends on PC or I want to play with my friends on PlayStation. It's not fun.
Definitely,
I'll say
definitely.
this as a prediction because
Hmm.
everything is trying to go towards digital. If Sony is not careful, Sony will be one of the first to go because people will remember this. And when you no longer are making your money off of physical games, you're making your money off of digital. Once people can just pirate these, because again, it's digital. Once people could figure out a way to stream these games and take them the way that, they technically used to copy off of CDs, no one needs to pay for PlayStation Plus anymore, or nobody needs to care about a company that did not try their best to meet the needs of the consumers.
Right. They
Like we
weren't
won't,
consumer friendly. Yeah.
yeah, we will not forget this, and they can go the way of Sega. I mean, they probably start still developing games, but they probably won't have the support for the consoles no more.
Nah, that's done. But it's I'm glad you kind of bring it up because that does lead us into our final topic of the day, and basically, it's kind of what you were just saying. Basically, Ubisoft announced that for their big AAA games, they are now leaning more towards doing free to play games for these big
Hmm.
AAA IPs that they have. Your Assassin's Creed, your Far Cry, um, what's the Division? I think is the first one they really announced being a new free to play game coming out.
Hmm.
Um, and it is interesting to see these company or to see Ubisoft do it, and I'm curious to see if other companies follow suit with
Right.
this. On one hand, I'm kind of glad that they're saying, "Hey, we're gonna make the game free to play," because the way some of these bigger companies monetize the game anyway, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
it's
always a
it's
sticking
so
point.
and that's kind of been like one of my like personal rules. It's just like if I pay $60 for this game, I'm not paying you for any microtransactions.
Yeah.
That's insane. I'm
Right.
not doing it. I've already paid you for this game.
Right.
So in like Ubisoft games, EA games, Activision, I don't spend any more money. I pay for the game and I'm done.
Mm.
So it's kind of nice to see them make free to play games now if this is what they're going to do because hey, I don't have to give you $60 or $70 up front. I can
Mm.
just click download, play it, and if I like it, here's $10 for a skin. Here's $30 for a mount,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I do like that a little bit more. Or hey, I don't got to give you anything. I'm fine just being free as it is.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But
Um.
I
yeah.
have a concern though.
Yep. There we go.
If you're gonna do, uh, I'm just saying, if you're gonna do free to play, who's gonna govern how much certain things cost with the paywall? Like if if you are saying to me that the game is free, but if you want this gun costs $5. Why does that gun cost $5? Like who's creating the value to these things that they are selling or these transactions they're selling in the game? Like, are they gonna make it fair, or are they gonna make it to where they're gonna try to make more money off of you because it's free to play?
Yeah.
But
Well,
they already do that now.
well, they do, but and I'm glad you shared that concern, Star, and that's why I was kind of making a noise like, here we go, because I really did want to go into the concerns that I know people would have, and even I have, and that was a good part of it. What you said is the regulate. Now, mind you, games have, like kids said, the game industry, they've always been regulating things the way they see fit. Oh, you want that special scope, $2. And most people like us will look at it and be like, well, really? Like, why? It's in-game stuff. Like, why is that $2? But they can just say, well, because, we made it, and that's what we're setting it as. Maybe it costs us, money to do that. So I'm just trying to say all that because they've always kind of done that anyway. But to lean more into what you're saying, that was a big concern of mine to me, look at the free-to-play, because they already hinder like the $60 price tag games now, as it is when it comes to progression. But you can at least argue that they make it grindy. But I mean, as grindy as that make it, you still can completely go through the progression. Like, you can completely level up your characters to the max levels. My thing is, okay, but free to play, what if they start saying, oh, you know what? Normally you would have went to like, max level 90, but now you only can do 10 unless you pay like extra for like a expansion part or something else. So that definitely was a concern with me thinking deeply about it, is, could that be one of the things that they do? Could they find other ways to kind of further restrict your access to certain parts of the game that normally would have come with the $60 price tag? You know what I mean? So it's a really complicated matter, man, and it's already polarizing. There's a lot of people who are definitely taking it, in a really, really bad tone because they're just looking at all the negative parts of it, which is totally understandable. But then you do have people who are looking on the optimistic side saying, well, I mean, it kind of is what we were kind of leading towards anyway. Like Kid said, I'm paying $60 for this game, but then you're like, no, but pay extra for all these other things. And it's like, but I paid you $60. Like, why am I feeling like this is a bare bones game where I have to pay extra money to get a full experience? And so now this is kind of an answer to that, to say, oh, well, and I know that's how the game companies are going to spin it, especially Ubisoft. That's probably going to spin it. Well, look, guys, you were complaining this whole time we were charging full price and all these microtransactions, but here's our solution: free to play, and now you can choose to do microtransactions whether you want to or not. And so it is tough. It's tough because in a way you're looking at like, oh, you sly devil, you're giving us what we were asking for, but now knowing you as Ubisoft, you're going to do some really shady stuff with it. And that's what we're having an issue with.
See, the good thing is that even if they do all this shady stuff, with it being free to play, you check it out, you play it. Oh, wait a minute, you gotta do this, you gotta do that.
Yeah.
Uninstall.
But what if you actually like the game, but you still don't like their practice? You don't like the business practice, so you still don't like you are hurting yourself because you're taking a stance because you don't want to pay for the extra content because it's free to play, but you actually like the game. So that's going to be the conflict with me. If I like the game, but I don't like the actual microtransactions, should I punish myself and not play the game at all? Or am I going to just settle and just pay for whatever other parts of the game that has to get unlocked with my money? Because they didn't come say the full game ain't gonna be free to play. There's gonna be a paywall to the expansion, or a paywall for the characters. There's gonna be ways they're gonna make more than $60 off of you in the first 2 months.
So I'm gonna let Kid go, but there's a point I want to make on that. But go ahead, Kid. I'm sorry.
Let's see. The thing is, they already do that now. Like, the biggest example I know that kind of comes up is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Which I really enjoy the game. I think the gameplay is fun. The graphics are beautiful, all that good stuff. But the problem is they created that artificial grind where once you hit a certain point in the game, to continue the main story quest, you either have to go grind out some levels to get better gear and equipment and stuff, or you're just going to get screwed, guy. I can't remember how many times I complained to BP about it, and I even stopped playing the game because I couldn't get anywhere because all the quests were like 4, 5, 6 levels higher than me, and they would like one-shot me. When I finally kind of went back to the game, the only way I could actually play it without opening, I'll say the only way I could play it is by turning it all the way down to easy and just kind of I really wasn't even breezing through because they were still so much higher level. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that even with that, they were still pushing you towards the store because guess what they were selling in the store? Experience and gold boost.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, and so, sure, will they do these crazy things in their free to play game? Absolutely. But the good thing is that like, well, hey, I didn't have to spend that upfront price tag,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on and this is where my big contention is going to come from is what they monetize and how much. But you know, if this was, let's say Assassin's Creed was free to play and
Mm-hmm.
they were charging 10-20 bucks for the gold and experience boost, I would be much more happier doing that than spending 60 then spending the 10 or 20 for the boost. Um, you know, I'd rather save my 60 if I can and
Mm-hmm.
just buy the parts that I would want to buy to make my experience a little bit quote unquote better. Because, like I said, unfortunately they're already doing this stuff now. It's just you have to spend 60 bucks to even try it. Whereas if it's free to play, I can at least see what they're doing and then from there decide if I want to open up my wallet or not.
Yeah. And so on that note, I want to talk about the risk of that, right? You know, for Ubisoft, and because the thing is, you have fan base now that are carrying that distrust over from the normal, no, the normal way they're doing it now, where you know they're doing the $60 price tag games, and you have the people who have that distrust because they've gone through it where they paid that money and then you got to pay the $10 for the boost or to increase your level or to get faster level upgrades. So people are carrying that notion already in their minds, and so now this free to play thing, they're going to automatically, what do you think they're going to do with that? They're going to carry that over to that aspect as well, saying, oh well, that's, I can clearly tell us what you're going to go with and make that as your excuse of the free to play aspect. So I say all that because it's pretty risky for them when you compare them to, compared to what they're going to do versus like Fortnite and, Warframe, right? Because what do you have with those? You don't necessarily have a great big push for like the microtransactions as much. It's something you can jump into and have so much fun. And the thing is, people have so much fun with it that they're willing to throw money at it and say, oh, actually, I want to look cool. I want this cosmetic. I want this whatever item. And so I think the concern there, and I say risky for Ubisoft, is because if they're going to go into it thinking, hey, it was free to play, everybody's going to come in and be okay with it, and they'll be willing to spend all this money for the XP boost and all that, they might not find that that's the case, because people will be like, no, look, we were willing to spend money on these other things like, Fortnite, Warframe, because you can clearly tell the developers had the fun in mind, they had the game play experience in mind, and that would generate enough goodwill to where we'd want to spend money for them just to show our support. Whereas Ubisoft, they would be seen more as an exploitative practice, like, oh, I know you just want me in here so you can just rob me blind. So I think it's very risky, if I'm being honest. So it really kind of depends on how they're going to go about it. Are they going to change that whole market up or that whole scheme up to where they reflect it more like a, hey, just come play it and enjoy yourself and then just spend money if you're really having a good time, or are they going to keep up with what they're doing now? So
You tough doing that.
hey, I'm just saying. So I think that's where a lot of the concern comes from, and also concerns about what this means for other companies. Because let's say it does get very successful, and this is the new norm that they've helped push. Other companies see that, they want to do it too. There are concerns that people have about single player experiences, for example. If more and more studios start wanting to get behind that, what does that mean for that future? For of those, for those people who want to just experience the single player, don't care about the multiplayer battle royale aspects.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
What destroyed the music industry was the fact that artists became more about making money than they were about making music.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the video game industry, when you have companies are more concerned about, again, making money than making the games, it's going to be to the point where there's going to be no more fun factor, because there's going to be no more soul in these games. These games are going to be baseless. Like, they will just be there so that you can buy things out of it. That's not fun. The idea that I'm in this game so I can buy stuff, that's soulless. There's no fun factor in that. And in the item that I'm buying that they claim is going to make the game more fun. No, someone just bought a better item that makes my item obsolete. So I don't need to buy another item. So the game is going to be designed to keep you buying stuff. That's not going to be fun. So I'm not cool with free to play on consoles. Maybe on mobile, maybe on PC, but consoles are supposed to be its own thing, and it's supposed to be based on the idea of a full game, a full experience. That if they decide to make a DLC, fine. But the microtransaction thing, it's getting worse, and I may end up at some point not playing games anymore.
Oh God.
I mean, just imagine movies, man. Just imagine sitting in the movie, and if you want to see a 4K version of this movie, you pay extra. Fine, it's the same movie, but I'm just paying more for that feature. What am I paying for in this free to play? Like, what's this money going to make this game do? Like, it's not going to do anything different with the storyline. It's not going to do anything different with the gameplay. It's all about just what can we get you to buy. And I'm not about that. I'm not about just throwing money. I mean, just on things that, because the game I may play for maybe 2 years. I'm not going to spend $200 in the game that should just cost me $60 for a 2-year experience. Nah.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, honestly, because you look at, and that's mainly the issue people take with the sports titles, right? Because it's a yearly thing, and like you said, you end up, if you look back at it and say you got heavily involved in just playing and having the experience, and then you spend all this money. Well, guess what? Next year it's completely obsolete.
Absolutely.
And there's $300 and $400 down the drain because none of it's transferable. So, I mean, it's a good point. It's a really good point, honestly.
I'll say, the one of the things that they could do to kind of kill it for me is if they do this for like their single player games, and if they start to say, okay, well, you can play the first 3 levels for free. Everything else you gotta buy. That's $5 for this level, $5 for that level. That is where you're losing me. But if it's just more of basically what they have now, except, hey, you can play it for free. Here's the store if you want some stuff. I'm fine with that. If it stays kind of what it is like now, single player and like the multiplayer games.
Yeah, just mainly cosmetics that you're buying.
Yeah. Cosmetics and boosts, fine.
And boosts,
I'm okay with that. But when they start now chopping away at the game and saying, okay, well, this part of the game will be $10, that part will be $30. Nah, I'd rather just spend 60 and buy the game at that point.
Yeah. Can we all agree on just one thing though, that maybe Ubisoft is probably not the best example of a company to do the free to play push?
No, they're not.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, I was kind of throwing in my mind, like, what would be the best companies that we would look at to say, you know what, yeah, we can see that working, and then others that are like, nah,
Well, like you said earlier, I think most people agree one of the best free to play models out there is Warframe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think hands down, absolutely. I don't think
I'm scared to get back into that game because I'm so behind.
It's changed a lot from what I hear. It definitely has changed a lot. But it's still,
I would agree.
But I still hear it's great. You know what I mean? That I've not heard anybody really go on record to say, "Oh, this is the worst game. They've completely ruined everything with their shady monetary practices." I just never heard that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that game's been around, man. I mean, so that's just a testament. So, like you said,
on top of that, they actually know when to take stuff back, because there was a story a couple of years ago where I think one of the pets that you can get, you could get different dye colors for the pet, and there was a story. There was a guy who apparently it was like 50 cents or something to get rerolls to get this color he was trying to get, and he did it like 200 times in a day, or like some crazy big number.
Ooh.
And the developers, they actually saw that and they were like, whoa, this can actually be addicting, and they actually took that out. Like, they changed that because they did not want people to continue that.
And see,
wow.
And that's awesome. That's why they have such goodwill, because they just have that means of just a good level of responsibility, you know, and accountability. Like, oh snap,
Yeah.
you know, this is not
They're
good.
they're already making money, so they don't have to
They
damage
don't
their
have to gouge
players.
them. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And why would they, right? They already know that goodwill is bringing them, you know, a
Exactly.
good fortune. So I mean, why abuse it?
And you know they cared. I mean, they saw that
Yeah.
that was unhealthy. Like that could lead to addiction. And if they saw that in one person, they
Yeah.
knew that could be in more than one person. And they were like, yeah, let's and they were quick with it. There was like within a short time span, they took that feature out. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Ubisoft would never,
No.
EA would
No.
never.
Oh, EA.
No.
could.
No, they
Boy.
would never remove their
Never.
surprise packages. They would never
Surprise
some
mechanics.
surprise mechanics. Or whatever.
Surprise
No,
mechanics.
No, he was-
they would,
yeah.
they would double down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh
man.
man, they doing it
We wanna
now.
give
They're
you
doing it
bigger
now.
surprises now. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing it now.
Oh, he did it 200 times a day. Let's make him do it 400 now.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's
Like
perfectly
that a little
healthy.
bit.
You know,
He's happy.
Hey, we put out little small disclaimers to explain that there's some dangers to it. You know, and
Oh,
no,
man.
it's a small print on the cover. You know, you have to look closely with the magnifying glass. Yeah, it's there.
They'll pull an Activision and they'll release the game without microtransactions, Crash
Uh,
Bandicoot,
later
Speed
on.
Racing, and then a few months later they'll put it on there after the game has already been printed and they can't add it on to the back of the case anymore.
How sickening, man. Jesus.
Sneaky.
Man, that makes me sick.
Great publishers out here, man. They are phenomenal.
Absolutely. Jeez, so, but
It's interesting to see Ubisoft take this approach, and I know we kind of talked about other companies, but as of right now, I don't believe any other big ones have announced that they're going to follow suit. I think they're going to let Ubisoft test the waters.
Yeah,
and
they're
see
gonna
what kind of
test the
money they
waters
can make.
first.
But this might be the new norm going forward. We'll have to kind of wait and see.
yeah,
And
wait and
how
see.
the
There it
industry
is.
has fallen.
Unfortunately, man, all they want is that money.
Yeah, just sad
That's all they
market
care
now.
about these days.
I know. It's really sad.
But I mean, again, if this saves me from having to spend that $60, depending on what else they do, I might be a little bit happy.
I don't know about
We'll
that,
see.
man. But I spend
We'll see.
$60. I have research where I'm paying $60 on. Like I don't ever really feel like I wasted money when I buy something because I actually will do research. That's why I didn't buy Anthem.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't buy the Avengers game. I mean,
Ooh.
it's like I've done the research. I know my money is not made out of trees. I ain't gonna grow, so I need to be careful on what I'm spending it on. And so, as a responsible consumer, 20% of the time, I'm not going to. Yeah, it's just ridiculous that they are looking at taking more money from a populace that's currently already struggling with other financial issues due to the current climate that we're in with COVID, and they're just sitting back thinking, how much more can we get out of them? That's it's evil.
Just 20%.
Yeah.
I just want to go on record now of my silence based on Star mentioning about buying and not buying Anthem. Yeah, I just wish we all could say that. You know, just a little fun fact there. I actually bought it for a kid, thinking, yeah, it might be something fun that he'll enjoy. And yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you played that, kid? What was the amount of time you spent on it?
Probably less than 5 hours. Maybe.
Yeah, that was. And
That means you played the whole game right there. And I mean,
I've never. I'll tell you this. I've never felt so bad in buying a gift for somebody before than I
Yeah.
did at that moment. Like I was like, ugh. It's that
Hey,
one
man,
job.
kids should feel worse because he re-gifted it. So
Hey man, it was who would have known?
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought. I
I
would have seen
knew.
some of the signs, but I was just
okay.
like, maybe it could turn around. Maybe it could be really a good thing. And it has some cool concepts. It really did. It's just. Yeah.
One of the dumbest concepts is the fact that I'm not sure we even call them anymore. They still Titans. What do they call those suits that they
I
in?
couldn't tell you. Oh, the javelins. That's right.
Javelins.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they have to recharge to fly. Like You
Yes.
made a flying game that I have to stop flying in. Like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah. That
come
was definitely
on.
one of my biggest gripes.
Yeah.
That they did that whole mechanic was just poorly implemented and nah, should not have been in the game.
Nah, not at all.
Yeah, they got backlash on that one. So, but
I just thought of another movie, and I can end it with that. Silent Hill was
oh,
done
I love
perfectly.
that. I love that. You know, it's funny. There's people who didn't like it though, which was weird.
Well, they don't understand movies, and that's on
Oh,
them.
okay. Let the record show. Star Child says that y'all do not know movies. I need y'all to get on your game, step your game up, and learn about these things. That's funny.
But yeah, that was my only little thing to say because I know that we're about to end the show. So
And just for the record, the first Silent Hill movie,
the first, there we go.
we're not talking about the second one. That shouldn't be that shouldn't be mentioned.
That didn't happen.
No, not at all.
Jeez, okay. Well, on that note, all right. Nobody want. Okay, I'll speak then.
Yeah, it's on you.
Oh yeah, man. I mean,
Wanna-
didn't know if we were wrapping up and calling it a night or what.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody for taking some time out of their very busy schedule to listen to us ramble about crazy stuff for just a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We can't thank you enough, guys. Really, really, really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we appreciate you. We love you, and we want you to stay safe.
Absolutely.
I like that. It's really sweet. Star Child.
I know, right? Wasn't it sincere? Didn't you feel that, like, just deep down?
Hey,
Your
you're
bones.
killing the mood now.
We get too mushy. My bad. Sorry, guys. So.
All right. Well, I think until next time, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I believe
sir.
So, pray all of us be awake for the next episode. That's all I'm gonna say.
Boy. Oh, buddy.
little shots there, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, that shot's fired.
So, alrighty.
All right, y'all take care. Let's get it.
All right. Be good.